8,000 babies died in New York in the 1850s. From milk, the kind their mothers bought every morning, the kind that looked normal, the kind everyone said was safe. And when the truth came out, when doctors showed evidence, when journalists published proof, the industry stood in court and said, "Show us the law we're breaking." No one could answer. Because there was no law. New York City, 1850s. 1 million people crammed into Manhattan. Irish families fleeing starvation. German workers seeking wages. Italian immigrants chasing better lives. Landlords threw up tenement buildings. 5, 6, 7 stories. Families of 8 sharing single rooms. 12 by 14 feet. No running water, no toilets, no ventilation. And everywhere, children, babies, toddlers, thousands of them, all needing milk to survive. Milk wasn't optional, it was life or death. But there was a problem nobody could solve. Real farm milk cost 8 cents a quart. A dock worker made $2 a day if he got work. A family of 8 needed 2 quarts daily. That's 16 cents. Almost a full day's wages. Just for milk. Impossible. And even if you could afford it, you couldn't get it. Cows can't live in Manhattan. The only source was farms outside the city. Hours away by cart, it's 1850. No refrigeration. 4 hours in summer heat. Milk spoiling. Dangerous. So New York had an impossible situation. 1 million people, thousands of babies, all needing milk daily. No way to produce it, no way to transport it safely, no way for poor families to afford it. Someone had to find a solution, and someone did. And the solution they chose would kill thousands. Manhattan had dozens of whiskey distilleries, massive factories processing tons of grain daily. After extracting alcohol, you're left with wet, depleted grain. Hot, acidic mash. Worthless. Toxic. They called it swill. Distillery waste. Tons of it. Every day. Getting rid of it was expensive. That's when someone had an idea. Cows eat grain, right? This is grain, technically. Confine cows in a small space, give them no other food, leave them no choice. They'll eat it. And cows that eat distillery waste will still produce milk. Not good milk, but milk. No transportation costs, no spoilage, no feed costs. You could sell it for half the price of farm milk. The profit margins would be incredible. The first distillery started small, built wooden stalls, bought 20 cows. They started feeding them swill. The cows wouldn't touch it at first. They'd smell the steaming, acidic mash and pull back. But after 2 days with no other food or water, survival overrode revulsion. They started eating it. Within a week, those cows were producing milk. Strange milk, thinner than normal, faintly blue-tinged, watery, but milk. The owner made a decision. He dug out the entire basement, built hundreds of stalls, bought 500 cows, installed metal piping from distillery floors to feeding troughs below. The swill would flow directly into the cows. Automatic. Workers milked them twice daily. Milk into tin cans. Cans onto carts. Carts to the poorest neighborhoods. 4 cents a quart, half price. Mothers lined up to buy it. Within months, other distilleries copied the system. By 1855, thousands of cows in distillery basements, producing tens of thousands of gallons daily. And here's what made it possible. No law said they couldn't. In 1850s America, there was no law governing milk production. None. No requirement for sanitary conditions, no testing, no inspection, no labeling. If you owned cows and they produced liquid that looked like milk, you could sell it. The distillery dairies operated in a complete legal vacuum. What happened next was inevitable. The cows started deteriorating. Distillery waste isn't food. It's garbage. All nutrition fermented out. Their teeth rotted from the acid. Workers force-fed them. Their tails fell off from malnutrition, leaving infected stumps. Their udders became abscessed, leaking pus. Workers milked them anyway. The pus went into the milk. Open sores covered their bodies. Some became too weak to stand. Workers propped them against other cows, kept them upright long enough to milk them. And this wasn't hidden. City officials knew. The basement conditions were horrific. No windows, no ventilation. Hundreds of dying cows in darkness. And every day, workers milked those dying animals. The milk came out wrong, blue-tinged, thin, watery, but it cost 4 cents instead of 8. For a mother trying to feed 6 children, that 4 cents was the difference between some nutrition and none. What choice did she have? The vendors knew the milk looked wrong. Blue milk doesn't sell. So they fixed it. Added chalk dust, added plaster of Paris, added starch, sometimes molasses. The result looked like milk. And all of that, completely legal. Cans got stamped, loaded onto carts, and rolled through tenement streets. Fresh milk, 4 cents a quart. Mothers bought their daily supply, fed it to their babies, and the babies started dying. Not all at once, not obviously, just gradually. Baby death was normal in 1858, expected, common. 1 baby died? Heartbreaking. 10 died in a neighborhood? Concerning. Hundreds died citywide monthly? It became a statistic. Nobody was looking at the milk. Milk was sold openly, delivered by licensed vendors, purchased by thousands. It couldn't be the milk. Doctors wrote, cholera infantum, summer complaint, digestive failure, terms that meant, we don't know why. Mothers blamed themselves, the crowded housing, the bad air, never the milk. Until a few doctors started tracking where deaths were happening. The neighborhoods buying cheap city milk had catastrophic infant mortality rates. But neighborhoods affording expensive farm milk? Their babies survived. One doctor tracked it carefully. The pattern was undeniable. Babies fed city milk were dying at 3 times the rate of babies fed farm milk. 3 times. He showed other doctors. They tracked it too. Same result. Whatever was in that cheap milk was killing babies. Hundreds, maybe thousands. But the distillery owners were powerful, wealthy, connected. When physicians raised concerns, the distilleries fought back. They published editorials. The milk is safe. These doctors are elitists. They hired doctors to testify. The cows are healthy. They attacked critics, called them snobs. And it worked. The distilleries had money, political connections, lawyers, and the milk kept flowing. The babies kept dying, all of it legal, for years. Until one man decided to look inside the dairies. Frank Leslie. He published an illustrated newspaper in New York. He'd heard rumors about swill milk, dismissed them. Then in 1858, a doctor came to his office with documents. Babies fed swill milk are dying at 3 times the expected rate, and nobody's stopping it. Leslie looked at the data and made a decision that would change everything. He would send reporters inside. What they found was worse than the rumors. His reporters entered the basement of a distillery on West 16th Street. They walked into darkness, into air so thick with ammonia and rot they could barely breathe. They saw hell. 500 cows, packed into wooden stalls so narrow they couldn't turn around, standing in their own waist ankle deep. No windows, no ventilation. The cows were nightmares, covered in open sores, bodies skeletal, tails gone, just rotting stumps, eyes clouded, lifeless. Many too weak to stand, propped against each other. Workers dumped steaming gray-brown liquid into troughs. The cows consumed it mechanically. Then workers milked them, grabbed diseased, infected udders. The liquid came out thin, watery, blue-tinged, visibly wrong. But workers didn't discard it. They poured it into tin cans, sealed them, loaded them onto carts, and sent them into New York streets to be sold to mothers, fed to babies. The reporters documented everything, visited other distilleries, found identical operations. Frank Leslie published it. May 1858, full expose, detailed illustrations, the skeletal cows, the blue milk, and the headline, The Swill Milk Trade of New York. How your children are being poisoned. The evidence was overwhelming. Public reaction was explosive. Mothers who'd lost babies suddenly understood why. The outrage spread like fire. Sales collapsed. Public meetings packed City Hall. Thousands demanding the dairies be shut down. Petitions circulated, tens of thousands of signatures. The pressure was enormous. Surely now something would happen. Surely the government would act. And here's what happened. Nothing. The distillery owners hired expensive lawyers. They sued Leslie for libel, brought in scientists to testify. Feeding cows distillery waste is scientifically progressive. Then their lawyers stood in court and said, "Show us the law we're breaking." And reformers couldn't, because there were no laws governing milk production. None. Zero. The legal framework was, if it comes from a cow, you can sell it. The lawyers hammered this. You may find our methods distasteful, immoral, but are they illegal? No. In America, if something isn't explicitly prohibited, it's permitted. That's freedom. That's the free market. Change the law. But until you do, we have every right to continue. And they were correct. Technically, legally, completely correct. The lawsuits dragged on. But the dairies stayed open. The milk kept flowing. The babies kept dying. All legal. The battle stopped being about dead babies. It became about, what is the role of government? Reformers argued, government must protect public health. Defenders argued, government has no right to tell businesses how to operate, and the free market will correct itself. Both claimed to represent working families. The argument was powerful, and for years, it won. And while politicians argued, a mother in 5 Points was burying her third child. She'd lost them all the same way. Same symptoms, same blue-tinged skin. She'd bought the same milk every morning for 3 years, 4 cents. That's all she could afford. She'd believed it was safe. Sold openly, licensed vendors. She'd trusted the system protected people. She'd fed it to all 3 babies. Buried all 3 before their first birthdays. Same cemetery, same small graves, same worthless prayers. Her name was never recorded, just numbers. But evidence kept mounting. Doctors published studies. Medical societies issued reports. Religious groups organized boycotts. The pressure built, month after month, year after year. Finally, in 1862, New York passed the first milk inspection law. 4 years after Leslie's expose. 4 years of additional deaths. The law required inspections, standards for purity, criminal penalties. It was a victory, but not complete. Passing a law and enforcing it are different. From Leslie's expose to actual change, more than 2 decades. The penalties were small. Corruption was easy. The dairies adapted. Progress was slow, frustrating. It took another decade. Stronger laws, more inspectors, higher penalties. By 1870, most swill dairies were gone. By 1880, swill milk had disappeared, replaced by regulated farm milk, inspected, tested. But the cost of that change was 8,000 dead babies. Estimates range from several thousand to over 8,000 infant deaths attributed to contaminated milk during this period. This wasn't one criminal. This wasn't a failure of the system. This was the system working exactly as designed. The free market operated freely. Businesses maximized profit. Government didn't interfere, and 8,000 babies died. The scandal revealed something fundamental. Unregulated markets don't protect people. They can't. That's not what they're designed to do. Markets optimize for profit. And sometimes the profitable choice is the harmful choice, especially when the harm is invisible, when it's slow, when it affects people with no power. We have protections now. In 1906, Congress passed the Pure Food and Drug Act. Today, milk production is heavily regulated. Pasteurization required. Inspections mandatory. The system that killed 8,000 babies is gone. We won. The milk in your refrigerator is safe. But the most dangerous part of this story isn't in the past. Those protections only exist because of enforcement. The laws are on the books, but enforcement is a choice, made every year in budget negotiations. When budgets get cut, inspections decrease, monitoring weakens, violations slip through. Not because laws disappeared, but because laws without enforcement are just words. And every year people argue food safety regulation is too expensive, too burdensome. The same arguments the distillery owners made in 1858. The Swill Dairies operated for decades in plain sight. Everyone knew. It continued anyway, because profit mattered more than infant lives. It took investigative journalism, public outrage, years of political battles, and 8,000 dead babies to prove the free market wouldn't fix itself. Every food safety regulation we have was written in response to documented harm. Every inspection protocol emerged from failure. Every enforcement mechanism was built on tragedy. The protections didn't come from foresight. They came from the dead. And those protections are only as strong as our commitment to maintaining them. You trust the milk in your refrigerator. You trust someone inspected the dairy, tested the product. That trust depends on a system, and systems require maintenance. How many inspections would need to be skipped before dangerous practices go undetected? How much enforcement declined before the protections built on 8,000 infant deaths stopped working and the Swill Milk Scandal ended in the 1880s? But the logic that enabled it, profit over safety, business freedom over public health, never disappeared. It's still here, still waiting for enforcement to weaken, waiting for budgets to be cut, waiting for people to forget why the protections exist. And when that happens, when enforcement erodes quietly enough that nobody notices, the next disaster won't look like the last one. And when it happens, the excuse will sound familiar.